I think we're getting all sorts of pieces of information about the practicality of the exchange of hostages. So we know there's going to be a humanitarian pause. It will last for 4 days. And what I just heard that it will start tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning, is at Palestine time. And then we have to look at kind of what kind of corridors which will enable the hostages and also the Palestinian prisoners just to be exchanged, enter into Gaza, and then for the hostages to leave Gaza.
And what's going on behind the scenes? What are the two sides waiting on before the deal can be implemented?
I think there are two issues. One is to deal with their own constituencies and to make sure that there is support. Not everyone support. I think the vast majority in Israel, for instance, support the agreement, but not everyone. Some say that Israel is giving too much. There is even one party that threatens to leave the coalition. The same goes for Hamas, but there is also the issue of the practical issues, how you actually create in the middle of a war zone, and that's hostility still going on, how you create the kind of safe passages for everyone to arrive safely to their destination. And this is all done with the help of international mediators, where it's Qatar, Egypt, the United States is involved, the negotiation France is involved, another player. So it's a very delicate agreement, especially considering what has happened over the last 7 weeks. Bear in mind, there is no trust between the sides. So everyone wants to know that this is actually going to happen, who is going to release, at what time they're going to be released, what the state of the hostages. So that's one of the things that every wrong move can interrupt the agreement.
Well, expecting to hear about that anytime soon. Israel has offered an extra day of a pause in fighting for every extra 10 hostages released, I understand. Do you think Hamas will likely take up this offer?
I think there are two things here to look at. It's definitely a change in the approach of definitely Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government. I think until now, destroying Hamas, as Israel put it, was the priority, though they said their priority is also hostages, but the actual behavior was of hurting Hamas and eliminating its military capabilities, then releasing the hostages. I think under pressure, public pressure, severe public pressure, I think this is changing now. I think for Hamas, from their point of view, because they are the one under pressure, military pressure, they probably welcome it because they try to regroup, which is something that Israel, from a military point of view, will have to consider at any stage of the process. But obviously, every hostage that can be rescued, saved, is very welcome by everyone in Israel.
And how much aid is expected to get in during the ceasefire?
And this is a very good question. See, right now there are 47 trucks or lorries are entering every day, which is far from being enough, considering in normal times this is a drop in the ocean. Let alone when time there is so much destruction and there is more need for humanitarian aid when it comes to medicine, food, water, what have you. So I think if they will enable at least an extra 100 trucks to enter per day, this might relieve some of the humanitarian. It's not a crisis anymore. It's a complete humanitarian disaster right now in Gaza, and all the service provider, whether it's UNRWA or other NGOs that are involved, need desperately. But the pauses will allow more safely for this, and creating again these corridors that are safe for these trucks to enter, and then when they are delivered, also to distribute it to those who need it.
And what do you think both Israel and Hamas will be doing during the ceasefire from a strategic point of view?
I think it's after very intense, almost 7 weeks by now, 6.5 weeks, it will both regroup physically, this is very intense, but also to reassess the approach, especially from the Israeli side, are they achieving their objectives? There is a tendency, two tendencies in war. Why is mission creep? You start one thing and then it becomes something else. And the other things to assess assess success through counting bodies, as gory as it sounds. But that's the question, if they're getting closer to eliminate Hamas military capability or not, and for Hamas to assess if they can sustain the military assault by Israel. So this will give them some room to maneuver. I think this poses, from military point of view, work more for Hamas than Israel, but at the same time, releasing the hostages is something that everyone would like to see taking place.
Well, Israel has reiterated this won't mean the end of the war. Is Israel likely to come back harder and stronger after the pause?
I don't know if harder and stronger, but definitely will resume the war in at least the same intensity. Again, the pause will let them reassess what the kind of the objective and whether they're reaching their objective, and also to assess the intelligence that they have. Also from intelligence point of view, because there is communication, the release of hostages and create some communication, it will help Israel to maybe found locations of some people that they are after. But obviously both sides are very cautious.
And you mentioned before Qatar, the US and other countries are involved in the negotiations. Can you tell us a bit more about what role they've played?
I think from almost day one, definitely Qatar, but also other countries in the region beyond started this negotiation, because it was obvious that it's completely unacceptable. Not only the number of hostages that Hamas took, but we are talking between 10 months old to 85. People are frail, need medication. So one of the criteria of the ability to move on and eventually to reach a permanent ceasefire, but we are not there yet, is release at least of the most vulnerable, the civilians, the women, the children, the babies to be released. And then by that also establishing some mediation process that can lead for more humanitarian pauses, relieving some of the humanitarian pressure in Gaza, and eventually it has to reach a point that there is a permanent ceasefire. But we are not there yet.
And just lastly, Yossi, do you think this deal will change the support level for Benjamin Netanyahu at home in any way?
I think temporarily. At the end of the day, most people, and we see it in all survey, all public opinion polls, the majority of people in Israel hold Netanyahu accountable and responsible for what happens on 7th of October. And the fact that there's this aid that he enabled Hamas, but allowing all this money to go inside Gaza, not ensuring that Israel, the border is secure, the complacency, while at the same time trying to bear in mind the 10 months before the atrocities of Hamas, also assaulting the democracy, what we call the judicial coup. I think they hold him responsible for that, and by this weakening the army, weakening the nation and the society. So yes, he might get some reprieve, but it's temporary.
Well, we shall wait and see. Yossi Mekelberg, thank you so much for your time and analysis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.